Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. So this is the webinar series of ASE61850 suite tools. And today we will be discussing the exchange mode of ASE61850 Testset. A quick introduction on Applied Systems Engineering. Applied Systems Engineering is a leading RTU and IED testset vendor for legacy and new protocols. It was founded in 1988 and became part of Calcutta in 2015. And regarding the ASE650 testset, we had introduced ASE650 testset with the client simulation features initially, and then we expanded to server features and exchange mode options later. And we also have monitor mode now. So today we will be focusing on the exchange mode capabilities where you can run certain scripts without code. You can run the sequence of functions and look for the results and validate whether your IED is working okay or not. Myself, Sterin, I'm handling the product management of ASE650 Testset. And today I have Larry Price with me. He's a pre-sales and customer support engineer. He has more than 30 years of experience in this domain. And he mainly handle DNP3 and IEC650 protocol trainings from our side. So handing over to Larry.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your schedules to join us today. This webinar is going to involve a pre-engineered SED file from a project. We're going to import that file into the ASE61850 testset. This file was previously used in an earlier webinar if you were able to join us. We're going to use a test server and interact with a client instance of ASE61850. So there will be two instances of the ASE61850 testset, and we're going to use the exchange mode features to test and verify communications and functionality using that file. A quick introduction to ASE61850 will follow this slide. As I said, we're going to be using a pre-engineered file. There's two instances that will be involved in today's demonstration. A server instance that will represent multiple IEDs. We'll launch a client instance, and client instance will use MMS, and we'll use the exchange mode of operation to perform connect, disconnect with the IEDs, read values in, write values. We're going to enable some reports, disable the reports, show you how to verify reports are enabled and being received. We're going to go through a controls demonstration and then a verification of controls. And we'll also verify with GOOSE reports and actual individual data values in the test set, and I'll show you what to look for. On the server side, we can use the exchange mode of operation to simulate multiple value simulations. So that'll be toward the end, time permitting. The target is 40 to 45 minutes for demonstration and explanation. Hopefully I'll meet that objective, and I'll allow you sufficient time to ask your questions at the end of today's webinar presentation. If we run out of time or extend beyond the 1 hour time frame we have targeted for this morning's webinar, please be sure to write your questions in, and we'll follow up with email and respond to them as we can. Also in the ASE61850 test set, using exchange mode, once you have configured all of the exchange in an exchange mode list or exchange list, it'll take some time to set up all of those operations, and rather than start fresh each and every time, you can save that configuration and use that for your testing purposes later on. And you can manipulate that, change that out as you need with different IEDs, different files based on your application requirements. A quick overview here. In our previous demo, we talked about the 61850 suite, but for those of you that are joining us for the first time, I'll explain. At ASE, we presently offer the ASE61850 suite solution. This solution covers all the stages of the 61850 project, the initial planning and engineering of device configuration, design validation through simulation of IEDs with our tools, field commissioning and testing capability, along with the ability to passively monitor and assess 61850 communications between devices. Initially, the offering that we introduced encompassed 3 products: SEL Manager, ASE61850 Testset, and we had an IED Smart simulation or simulator. The IED Smart simulator, not listed on screen, is a scripted test tool for IED simulation in your 61850 applications. SEL Manager is our SCT or SST tool, substation configuration tool, system specification tool. You can engineer and create templates, SCL files for your design and configuration of your solutions. And the server and client are part of the ASE61850 test set. The client gives you MMS capability to communicate with server instances and actual IEDs. And the IED Smart that I mentioned is the advanced IED simulator. And we have monitoring capability with our tools. So you, after commissioning, when you're performance monitoring or debugging, you could passively monitor communications between devices, retrieve GOOSE information or GOOSE report messages and reports. Let's see, our SEL Manager is participated in all UCA interoperability testing events since 2015. And we've been heavily involved in 61850 since then. We've used our SCT tool with multiple major IED manufacturers. And when we use SEL Manager, or you use SEL Manager as a SCT tool, it supports a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach or a hybridized approach. And the 61850 test set is essentially a runtime counterpart to this offline engineering tool. We recently added client support. So previously we only had server simulation capability, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate today, client mode of operation using exchange mode. And at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a test set accessory that is in development and expected to be released in the next few months. It's called a BNet. It's a 61850 specific protocol analyzer, and this will provide sampled value capability. This is our demo architecture slide. So I'm using a pre-engineered SEL file. It's modeled after a feeder bay, and we've used this in demonstrations with other customers and often use this for explanation and providing an overview of our capabilities. Here we have a protection design that involves a couple of protection relays, a backup and a main. We're using a PIU device, or process interface unit, which acts as a combiner for the switchgear control, as well as provides a merging unit function. Controls are routed to a BCU. This BCU performs interlock checking, synchronization checks before the command is actually sent to the PIU. The orange lines are representing our GOOSE messages, and we're using the CSWI operate open, operate close data objects to control the switchgear via GOOSE trigger to open and close. The red lines illustrate sample values routing to the 2 sample value subscribers, and which are the main and backup relays. Both relays perform the trip function, with one being a primary and the other is the backup trip. And the PIU is publishing statuses for both the circuit breaker and the switch, which is subscribed to by all the devices. The secondary relay has essentially been added as a recloser function. This recloser command is routed to the BCU. So today's demonstration will primarily focus on the PIU. Let me go to the engineering file. I talked about what we're going to, talked about what we can do with the exchange list, connect, disconnect with the IEDs, read data values, write values. We can enable reports. I'll show you verification. I'll show you controls, how to verify controls are executed. And I'll use exchanges at the end and the server side to simulate multiple value changes for a particular data object, like circuit breaker position. And then we can save all of the configured exchanges at the end for a project file and retrieve that later. Let me just disable this so we don't have any more pop-ups here. Sorry about that. So let me go to the SCL manager file. This is our SCT tool. This is the file I'm using. Primarily, we're focusing on the PIU today, or Process Interface Unit, because it has all the data objects that are needed to demonstrate the tool capabilities. In the PIU, you have, here's our logical nodes associated with it.
Larry, we lost your screen due to some reason. So could you
1
please
second.
reshare?
Let
Yeah,
me,
it's back.
oh,
Yeah,
do you
it's
see
back.
it now?
Yeah.
So here's our single line diagram with the signals and tags associated with the PIU that we'll be using. For the PIU, here's the logical node description associated with the circuit breaker. We're going to be looking at position and control values. The control command is going to be SBO with enhanced security. That's what's presently configured. You've got a block open, block close, and for position information for operations, you can see all that information on screen. We have data sets associated with that. I'm just giving you a quick overview of what's involved with this configuration. Here's the XCBR or circuit breaker position ST val, and then block open ST val, block close ST val. And then we have some GOOSE information associated with that. For our GOOSE reports, we have similar data set variables. So here's circuit breaker position, the block open value, and subscribers for those GOOSE messages. So the BCU, HMI, for example, the main or primary BPU and secondary BPU. We also have reports in this configuration using the same data set and the report subscribers. And we got a client or an HMI, for example, main BPU, secondary BPU. So all that information is in the SCD file. I could take that SCD file and import that into the test set. And I'm launching a test set. Speaking of the past demonstrations or webinars, before I begin my explanation here, I glossed over that. I wanted to show you on our website. If you want to retrieve or review some of the past information that we've published and recorded via video, you can go to the ASE-systems web URL. And if you go to support and downloads, we have videos and webinars available. And we also have product information links so you can retrieve additional information and data. So for past webinars, you can see my counterpart has provided an earlier webinar. This is because we have customers in different global regions. So that was targeting Asian, European, and folks on the other side. And I'm primarily focused on North America in this hemisphere. So I'm repeating this webinar. There's other webinars and videos available for our products. And we plan to continue our webinar series to highlight our new features as we're introducing them. So I've launched ASE 2000 or ASE, I'm sorry, ASE61850 Testset, and the layout is as follows. In the lower left-hand corner, you have a client mode of operation. You have a monitor mode or passive sniffing mode of operation for performance assessment and capturing communications, and you have server mode. Up top, it also will read the mode that you have selected down on the bottom for general user verification. We have a point list view, which we highlighted and demonstrated before. We have a GOOSE tab, a reports tab, an exchange list, which we'll be working with today. We'll primarily be navigating between GOOSE, reports, and exchange list. When you first start up the server instance, you have the ability to add an IED, or you can, oh, I'm sorry, no, there is no or. And when you first launch that, it's going to request the data file associated with that so it can retrieve all the model information. So I can browse, or if I previously used an SD file, it retains and remembers those source files. So I've got an exported SCD file that came from our SCT tool. And here you can see that I've got those other IEDs that were listed in that single line diagram, and in that project file, bus bar protection relay, the BCU, HMI, main and backup BPUs, and the PIU. So today we're going to be using the BCU, the BPUs, and the PIU. The next step is to select your IP address cell, and it will utilize and detect your enabled interfaces or network interfaces. In this scenario, I'm using a loopback adapter, and let me back out of this real quick. This loopback adapter is selected up here. If I just select that cell, I have the option to pick my other adapters, but for today's demonstration purposes, I'm using two instances of ASE61850 on the same laptop. So my loopback adapter has been selected. I'm going to add the IEDs by selecting the plus symbol. Simply select the SCD file and then select the IP address cell for each of the IEDs I want to simulate. And so here I have some alias IPs I've configured on that loopback adapter. So I'm going to select 11.100 for the BCU, 101 for the BPU, 102 for PIU, and 103 for the secondary BPU. And the next option or step is to select each IED. And when you select those, it will initialize and retrieve the data model for those files. You should see a green check mark or tick mark, and a check mark status to tell you that it's initialized successfully. And I'll just go through that sequence for the rest of those IEDs. Let it validate, looking good. Enable the PIU. That's successfully initialized. And the secondary BPU is now green check mark. Click finish. And since they've all successfully initialized and are live simulating, under my Goose messages, you can see they all set Gooses and they're now synchronized. So my initial Goose messages have gone out. I've got green check marks, positive status indication to tell me that the servers are communicating and initialized. On my client side, I'm going to launch another instance of ASE61850. A little slow there for some reason. Here I have the client mode button enabled by default. It opens in client mode. And here I have the option when I choose the plus symbol to enter an IP address for an IED and directly connect to it and read in the data model. Or I can utilize a SCL file and specify the IP, or I can use the scan function up top. That's the magnifying glass to scan all of the IEDs that are in my particular subnet and discover them. So for today, we're going to use the SCL file and reference the same file for those other IPs. And this is going to read in the parameters associated with that SCL configuration. So as you can see, it's using a Class A address, and I'm presently assigning Class C address ranges to my loopback adapter. So I need to click on the IP address and overwrite those to match my loopback adapter IP settings. And lastly, and just like before on the server side, we're going to check those, initialize, and this is showing me that I've connected from the client side. If there's a discrepancy, it would likely be related to the IP address configured, so double check your IP settings. And we're successful, and we're successful. So on the client side, as I showed you before, you can expand these objects and see all the data elements and objects associated with that configuration. You've got data sets, reports, GOOSE control block, and controls. So for my BCU, I'm going to go to my GOOSE, and then I'm going to expand that and just go to the data set. I could have just went up to the top, but I'm doing this by habit. And here you have the signals associated with the BCU, and we can read in particular information. So we can look at, for instance, operation close signal, and we can specifically read that. So if I go to my exchange list, I could use and send some of the controls and commands from the left side. But today, like I previously showed in the other webinar, but we're going to use this exchange list. So the exchange list is laid out with connect options, read, write. You could simulate on the server side. You can validate when sending communications to a server. You could retrieve reports, verify reports. We can look at GOOSE, send controls, disconnect, for example. And okay, sorry about that. I should have turned off my Microsoft Teams. I'm going to do that now so we don't have any more top pop-ups. And it's still on there. I don't see it. I don't know why it's popping up in the background. I'm sorry. Let me get back to this. So for the connect option, we can, on the BCU, we can go to operate close general, and we can send this command to true, and then click enter, and then look on the other side. Let's clear this out, clear our history, go to our reports. Okay, I got everything cleared out. Sorry, I got out of sequence here. So let's connect first to our BCU, or to our PIU, or BCU rather. There we go. We have connected. So we can connect. I'm just going to show you the connect and disconnect function. So if I send that, we have options in our exchange list for anything that has been configured. We have the option to send a manual exchange. When we're sending manual exchanges, whatever is highlighted in the list has two control buttons that are relevant. So whatever's highlighted, we could send once, or we could send continuous. So I could send that. And you could show that in the exchange history here, it says that was a success. I can click on the details. If there was additional information associated with a particular exchange, it would show those details. And here you could see that it was okay. And then on disconnect, we'll send that once. And if I disconnect, just click on it, click elsewhere. Ooh, oh, I forgot to drag and drop. Sorry. You have to drag and drop. There we go. My mistake. Very tedious. This is all about drag and drop. You're going to drag the particular IED or tag to the particular exchange. I forgot to do that for the second sequence. So here for the disconnect, I didn't have a target. Now I could send a disconnect. And if I disconnect, you'll see it's deselected the box on the left-hand side. So that's a simple connect, disconnect operation using exchange, connect to exchange and disconnect exchange. So let me expand that. So we're going to start out with, on the PIU, we're going to perform and demonstrate a read option. And we're going to use XCBR position ST val. So if I drag and drop that over here, you can see on the right hand side, it's got a additional properties menu. I could send a sequential command using a list of items in here that I've configured, but I'll demonstrate that later. I don't want to generate any confusion. I can send a continuous command using this button here, and I could specify the frequency. So let's just send an individual command. I'm going to read this. And then if I go over to my details, so success, and you can see the initial state is intermediate in this particular file. The data object initialization parameters have not been set, so it's presently intermediate or 00. And if I look over at the actual server side, I can go to that same value, data sets, XCBR position SDVal, and you can see it's intermediate here. So I could change this to off open, click enter. It's going to generate a goose, and I can go over to the other side, read this information. Sorry, I already had it highlighted. And you can see it updated the status there on the left-hand side, as well as in the exchange history reported the value off open. So that's a simple read. You could take other objects and drag and drop those if that feature is supported for that particular exchange. And in some instances, only one parameter can be retrieved, but I could drag and drop block open SDVal in there as well, and then generate a read for that. And it'll show you that the values associated with both those requests, it's still off open. There's been no change in state. And then the block open STVal set to false. If I want to remove that, I can simply select that row, click delete. So on the server side, I can read this repeatedly. So if the server is in a particular state and I want to stress test that, I can use the continuous feature. So I can set this for, say, a frequency of every 5 seconds and send continuous, and 5 seconds, and then stop it. And you could see it went out, and I had 2 reads for that. So that's a continuous mode of operation. I don't want to fill my screen up with a bunch of clutter. We can go to our reports. And on our reports, Here's our buffered reports. We have particular items in there. So if I go to the report settings, I can go to on the write operation in particular, I could take this GI value. This is a general interrogation. This is an on-demand integrity report. So in order to retrieve or issue a GI and get a proper response, I have to enable the reports on the server side. So for that, I need to go to my reports, my report control block, and then I need to drag that to my reports. And here we have some different options associated with that. I just dragged the report control block over to the reports. And here I have the option to enable, to disable reports, or to verify. The verify option is going to tell the test set to verify that that instance of report has been received. So upon receipt, it will confirm that and tell you whether or not it was successful. Down below, you have some additional menu properties. So your trigger options in particular, I can go down here, and for write demonstration, I can enable integrity reporting. And then I could set a frequency of, let's just use every 20 seconds. This is in milliseconds, so it's 20,000. And then I could send that once. It tells me that it was successful. And then if I go to my reports and we wait, we should see those reports coming in roughly every 20 seconds. There it is. So this will continue to send an integrity report every 20 seconds. We don't want to flood our test set with communication, so I'll go back to that exchange and we will disable that. And we're going to turn off integrity reporting bit. We're going to send that once. Now, also in there, under the report settings is, let me expand this a little bit. If you have buffered reports capability, you need to purge the buffer if a report was previously enabled. Otherwise, if I were to go through and enable that report, the previous reports are going to be sent first, followed by the sequential reports or subsequent reports. So for this, I've disabled it, and here I just need to, this is a transient parameter, meaning that it's not persistent when you change it. So I'm going to momentarily send that to true, click enter, and it will return back to its initial value of false. So it's purged the reports from the buffer. And I've got to, now I'm going to go back over to my report exchange. I want to enable that exchange. I'm going to leave the GI bit enabled and without the integrity. And so now I have a report exchange, a write exchange for GI value. This will be true. And so now it's reports have been enabled. Let me clear out all my history so you can see on screen. And I can send a individual exchange. So now I can enable that. It's now enabled. And I can send a GI, general interrogation request. So also in this list, we have the ability to edit in this cell or up here in the properties name cell. This will be write GI. This will be report enable. If you're a previous ASE2000 testset user, this is very similar to exchange mode in that other testset solution. So you can manipulate the available exchanges, copy and paste those. So I can go down to my report enable, copy that, and then paste, and then we can do a verification option. So here's a verified. This will be report verify. So we have report verify, report enable. So again, I'm going to repeat those previous steps, and I'm going to show you another feature. So we're going to disable, report disabled success. Show you that on screen. Purge the buffer. Click elsewhere or hit enter, and you'll see that it's updated. So now I can send a sequential communication of exchanges. So to use sequential exchanges, you have to utilize a transmit flag, and then anything that is enabled for transmit, once you hit the play button, it'll go through that sequence. So for sequential, let's just move this up. We're going to go up there, and then we're going to go to verify, and then clear our reports, and go back to our exchange list, and I need to enable transmit and enable to verify. So now only transmit enabled exchanges, if I hit play, will be sent out of the test set. So we're going to send that out. Report disabled. Oh, I forget. Let's set the wrong value. Let's set that again. Go through and stop it. I've since corrected that to enable. We're going to hit play. It's enabled, and it's listening for the next report. Let's stop and restart that sequence real quick. Send that one more time. Oh, I enabled a previously enabled report. Gets a little tedious. Let me just send that out, disable it. Once again, purge, click elsewhere, or hit enter. That's now cleared. Report is enabled, report verify. Let's change that appropriately to enable, and then let's send that success.
So Larry, sometimes you have to issue a GI to get the report. So in this case, you have
Oh,
not enabled the integrity report, right?
thank you.
Yeah.
Too many steps. So that's right. Because it's not, I disabled the integrity bit, it's not going to send that communication out. So for write GI, I need to disable or enable that as well. Thank you for that. Let me stop that and go back up here. Can be tedious. There's a lot of little steps here. Purge it. It's now purged. Now I can retrieve that report on demand. I can enable the report and then verify the report. There we go. Thanks. Report's been enabled, and it's out of sequence. One more time. There it goes. And I got it. Verify was successful. It's a little bit out of order because it should have been write to GI. The sequence is enable, request the report, and then verify report received. So that's basic sequential operations. So in sequential operations, again, you have the transmit flag and the play and stop options. For reports, as I showed you, you have the option to purge there. On the report settings, you have some triggering options, your integrity period, those are important. and that's you can drag and drop your individual signals. You can also drag and drop or drag your exchanges and sort those in order of sequence. So the test set will look at anything that has transmit flag enabled, send that out in this particular sequence. So let's talk about controls. So for controls, we're going to go to XCBR CO position. We're going to move that over to our control exchange. Actually, and here you can see you've got some different options available. You have select and operate, which is a two-step sequence. So it's got enhanced security, select SBO with enhanced security per the SEL file configuration. We can issue just a select command, an operate individual command, or a cancel for operation. So with select an operation, down in the lower right-hand side, you have close and open options available. Let's look at the server side and see what position it's in. It's presently off open. Let's go back to my client. And let's just see if I can put these both on screen. Server on the right, you can see the value associated with the position. And on the left-hand side, I have select and operate. My screen is a little truncated, but it's presently off open. So I want to change that to close. I can send that control setting continuously. It's already highlighted in the list. Obviously, you can't repeat a command. There will, because it enhanced security, if I repeated it and it was already in that state, it would give me an error message indicating it couldn't comply. We'll just send that once. And you can see that it's now on close position, matches the control command setting here. And we'll repeat that for a open condition. And now you can see it's off open. So I go to my GOOSE reports. You can look at that, the last GOOSE messages or GOOSE message, and double click the cell and see all of the data values associated with the GOOSE control block. So you can see it's off open. You've got a timestamp associated for that GOOSE and values associated with the other signal. Also in reports, you can see that there was a data change. Here's the initial state and the change state. So the initial state was on close, and then the next state was off open. So the reports and the GOOSE tabs give you supplemental information, also identify communication sequences and the reported values associated with them. So with controls, one thing I did not explain or go into just yet is verification. So in controls, when you issue control, unlike with the validate or verify options that I showed you, controls have a verification option in the actual exchange itself. So in the controls, I can go into the verification settings, and I have the option to specify verifying using a GOOSE message, an actual report, or a read option. And the way it works is the test set knows from the configuration file, or not, I'm sorry, it knows from your options that you select that a command is being issued. So it also knows the status value for that object. It'll check how many data sets contain that object and how many control blocks within GOOSE or reports that are publishing that value. And it provides those options here for your verification purposes. So once you specify your initial values, we've got some work to do on this report feature. It's not quite finalized yet and working as expected. Should be addressed in a future release. You also have to specify the control block here, so for that data object, and here it is. And then you have the option to verify from this exchange, which we will be using, but Other options are from a read option, report verify option, etc. So you've got multiple options to verify from where that data object exists. And so now when we send a control, let's go back to my server side, just verify what the present state is. It's off open. And we want to send a close command. And so I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to utilize send once.
Larry, you might have to check the verify option, the top right
Oh,
checkbox.
thank you. I forgot about that. Too busy talking instead of doing. So the verify option is the additional option I did not explain yet up top. So transmit will enable you to hit the play feature and go through a sequential communication test, or you can use verify here. One more option. Let me change the position since it's now closed. Open, send that once. And then you can see if you look at the details here, it'll provide you with the write operation, the date stamp SBO write is successful, the control block associated with that that's used, and down below you can see the state change number and verified OK, verified OK. So use the read option to verify that you were successful with that communication. For simulation, I've yet to talk about that. We'll get to that here in a minute. I just wanted to summarize what I've showed you thus far. In the list, whatever you've configured, you have the option to send it a single exchange, send that exchange repeatedly based off of whatever's highlighted, or if you want to send sequential communications from the client to an IED or a server, you can use your flags, transmit flag. The verification must be enabled for ensuring, in the case of control example, that it's verifying from the control block that there was actual value change that correlated with the control value being set to the IED. So on the server side, and we're getting close to our about 12 minutes out from our target end time. If I go to the server simulation side, you can go to the simulation exchange. And here I can place a circuit breaker position for simulation. Enable that for transmit. And you've got values that you can specify. So I could specify from the drop-down list, or I could specify multiple values. So here I can specify 0, 1, 1, 0, for instance, closed and open. And then now that's specified. We'll start that. And now if I go over to my PIU and I want to read those position values, let's go ahead and eliminate the supplemental. I could send that out. And let's just say I'm going to read that every 10 seconds or so. Clear my history out. And then I'm going to send that, use a enabled. One second. I got to disable these others. The right GI is not needed. And report verify. I just wanted to read that object in. Must edit the list appropriately. off open. And it's not, should be changing every 2 seconds. Oh, I didn't specify frequency for change. Try that one more time. Clear this out. Stop this. And we'll send that. On close. Block open is false. Next scan. On close. I think I set this wrong over here. Off close on open. Showing it right here. Go to the
Yeah, it's
gooses.
basically conflict with the frequency. So on the server side, you have set this frequency as 5, and in the client, you have 10. So by that time, it is doing two simulations.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll stop that. Simulate. It should be every other scan now with a 0 value, correct? Stern. It should
Zero
alternate.
values disables the uh, simulation frequency. So you may set to same frequency like 5. If you have set 5 in client, you may set 5 here as well.
It
So
has to
that way,
match.
yeah.
There we go. And then, yep, it's still there. Let's go back to the exchange list. Clear the history. Start it. 10 seconds. There we go. Off open. Yeah, I didn't catch that. It's a little challenging trying to explain and do at the same time. And on close. There we go. So we're at 10:53. Apologize for that little hiccup. Lots of details. I just want to quickly review the exchange mode features in the test set. So with multiple IED server instances, you can specify and modify an exchange list to test and retrieve uh, multiple values. You have the option to read specific data objects, write to write enabled objects, send controls to CO 61850 objects. There's a verification option available, and you can send those controls manually by selecting them in the list. You can sort your list for sequential operation. To initiate a sequence of exchanges, you have to enable the transmit flag. You also have a cyclic property, or I'm sorry, periodic setting, so you can specify the delay in between those exchanges as they're sent out of the test set or transmitted. For verification, you have your exchange history. You can hover over some of the basic details. You get more details in the GOOSE and Reports tabs. In the GOOSE tab, you can actually double click to retrieve all settings, or just highlight over a particular cell to see the settings there, depending on user preferences. And reports, you can do the same thing. Reports will just show you the information in that cell for that particular data object. This is just a data change related to um, a single object. So if you have some questions now, we'll take your questions and answer them. If we do run out of time in the next 5 minutes, for those of you that didn't get answers to your questions, we'll follow up with you in email and answer respectively. So Staren, can you read and review
Yeah.
some of the questions?
Yeah, I can read the questions here. So we have 5 or 6 questions posted. So the first question is it possible to use the client application with an external device acting as a server, for example, with an IED, and be able to read data from the IED and send data to it by GOOSE, MMS, etc.? So the answer is yes. So this ASE61850 test set has different mode of operations. Right now we are showing both client and server mode, but you can use one of these mode to test either the IED or the SCADA. So for example, if you want to test the SCADA, you will be using the server mode, and if you want to test the IED side, you will be using the client mode of operation, and you can simulate GOOSE in the server mode. In the client mode, you can monitor the GOOSE messages. Moving on to the next question. Can you set up the client simulator for both edition 1 and edition 2? That's the question from Karen. So yeah, you can load the ICL file, and our tool will support any versions. So it will be able to load either edition 1 or edition 2 or edition 2.1 ICL files. The next question is, does the client generate GOOSE? Can it generate SVs as well? The light edition. So I assume that you are asking about the generation of GOOSE and sampled values, 9-2 LE. To answer that question, so ASE61850 testset in server mode can generate GOOSE message and receive the GOOSE messages in client mode. And for the generation of sampled value, you will have to use the additional accessory that Larry mentioned earlier in the presentation called BNet. So BNet will allow ASE650 test set to generate and receive sampled value. If you want to simulate the sample value, you will have to run the test set in server mode with the BNet, and it will be able to generate the sampled value streams to the network. In the same way, if you run it as a client or monitor mode, it will be able to receive the sampled values from the network. This hardware product will be released uh, by January or February time, 2024. The next question is, AC6150 test set trial version is available and the license price tag. We can send you the details offline, but on the trial license, you will be able to download the version from our website. You need to create an account in www.ac-systems.com website, and you will be able to download and use the trial version. Moving on to the next question. I'm just making sure that, yeah. So the next question is, I hope that the client is connected in this demonstration to real 6150 servers, um, uh, but actually it's not. So in the to demonstrate the capabilities of both client and server, we have used the loopback connection. But in a real scenario, if you connect to a network, the client mode will be able to see all the IEDs in the network, and server mode will be able to cater data to the SCADA systems or the client system. It is using standard network interfaces for the communication, so you'll not see any difference. Next question is, suppose we write open close command using client on some PCU. Suppose there are some interlocks that are not satisfied and hence command could not succeed. So where can we see the error feedback on the client? So there is a uh, details column available, and you will be able to see the reason for failure in that details column. So if you go to the exchange mode, since we are focusing on exchange mode in this demo, and if you go to the exchange mode, you will see the history, and under the history, you will be able to see the details column, and there you will be able to see the reason for error. if the IED is responding with the interlock failure.
Would
But yeah,
would
we are
the
simply,
application log also provide information on the error?
yeah, yeah, that's right. We will see the additional details in the application log as well. The if IED respond with a specific error code, we can see that in the details pane itself. Next question is, will you share the recording of the webinar with the attendees later? Yes, this recording will be shared automatically to all attendees within 24 hours. It's an automatic recording, and you will be receiving it, the email with the link. Checking whether there are any additional questions. Yeah, I think that's all we have. I don't see any more questions, but if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us. We will be responding you with the responses. Okay, great.
Thank you, everyone, for
So
your time
thanks.
today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good day.